welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And I'm a bit late today. I've had a very busy day, so I'm going to have to try and solve this with efficiency. Now, what is it? Well, you can see it's sort of a stairway up the grid. This is by Willy Wonka, who we featured on the channel a few times recently, but I've loved his puzzles. So I hope this one will be just as good as the other two that we've tried. I'll tell you the rules in a second. They're very simple, but just to mention a few things first. Miracle Sudoku, it's now out on Android. If you see our Twitter, there's a link there. @CrypticCracking is our Twitter account, and I'll put a link under the video, obviously. And we've got a couple of bonus things for patrons coming up. I still haven't done it because, as I say, today has been so manic. But I am going to record a solve of Fistamofel's Star Battle puzzle. So anybody who's a patron of the channel, hopefully I'll get that done tomorrow, and you should be able to have a go at that. We can have a go at it immediately. Again, there's a link under the video. But if you can't do it, or you want to know how I would do it, then there will be a video on Patreon. The other thing that is coming on Patreon on Tuesday, which is absolutely, it's so cool, is Mitchell Lee's talk through of his puzzle, his odd even killer Sudoku, or little killer Sudoku, which is one of the most brutal puzzles you could ever try in your life. So many of you have battled through it. It's so impressive, but many of you have commented that you would love to know how to logically solve it. And I watched Mitchell's video yesterday, and it's really, really beautifully explained. So as I say, Tuesday's the day for that. And also in that video, I will try and make sure that we name check every person who sent us a correct solution, because if you did solve the puzzle, you certainly deserve a name check, let me tell you. Now, let me talk you through the rules of this one. As I say, very simple. What we've got is some killer Sudoku cages. So as usual, the way they work is we've got to make those 4 cells add up to 24 without repeating a digit. And then we've got some little killer Sudoku clues. So that's telling us that along the arrow, those cells would add up to 36. And you can repeat digits along little killer diagonals, but obviously not in the same box. You can't put 9 into those 2 squares, but you can absolutely put 9 into those 3 squares, for example. So that's all of the rules. So have a go yourselves. The way to play is to click the link under the video. And with that, I get to play. Let us get cracking. And there are... Well, there's one thing I notice immediately about this, which is that Willy Wonka has been unkind enough to create killer cages here that are very, very useless, in the sense that none of these are particularly restricted, or at least not. I don't recognise any of these totals as being restricted in and of themselves. So we're probably going to have to think about them as in groups. Now, in terms of thinking about things in groups, there are 2 things I can see from the puzzle straight away. One of them is this staircase. This staircase does look... It encompasses almost 3 complete boxes of the killer Sudoku, of the Sudoku. Boxes 4, 7 and 8. Now the other thing I can see is that if I add these diagonals in, look, what's that going to look like? Something like this. That very nearly includes 6 entire boxes of the Sudoku. Okay, so, well, I think I'm going to start by looking at the stairway. The stairway to heaven in Sudoku terms. So let's add these up. What have we got? 50, 65, 86, 90, 110, 134, 159. 159. What is that telling us? Well, actually, 159 is quite interesting, because what do these 3 boxes add up to? Well, obviously, one complete box in a Sudoku will contain the digits 1 to 9. If you add them up, you get 45. So 3 boxes of a Sudoku should add up to 135. but the blue cages add up to 159. So how would we transform? What mathematically would we have to do to get from 159 to 135? Well, you can see what we're going to have to do is deduct out of the 159 that square, and that square, because they don't belong in our 135 total, so those would come off. But we have to add in those two squares, which have not been accounted for yet. Now, so this is really important, because how big can I make those three squares? Well, the maximum I could make them would be 9 each. 3 9s add to 27. So if I take 159, deduct 27, I get 132, and I've still got to put 2 more squares back in, and I mustn't break the total of 135. So these have to be tiny, and these have to be massive. That is what we can tell. These, even if these are 3 9s, these can only be 1 and 2. Because I need them to add up to 3. So these squares here, they could be 3 9s, or they could be 2 9s and an 8, but they cannot be anything other than that. Because if they are, the puzzle will break. Now that might be important. Oh, this is just beautiful. Willy Wonka, he is really just becoming such a brilliant setter of puzzles. Look at those two squares. Can those two squares contain the same digit? Well, the answer is no, because look at the killer Sudoku geometry. If we put 9 into both of those squares, where do we put 9 in box 4 now? Well, we can't put it in those squares because of Sudoku, and we can't put it here or here because these share a cage with a 9. So that one's not a 9, so there would be nowhere for a 9 to go. So these two cannot contain the same digit. Therefore, these are an 8-9 pair. Now, we know we need 2 9s in this triumvirate of cells, so that square's got to be a 9 now. Now, let's see. No, actually, look what he's done. He's done the same thing here. These can't be the same digit either, because it's exactly the same reasoning. This 27 cage is very powerful on box 8. So once you put a 9 here, you can't put a 9 in any of those squares. You can't put a 9 there. If this was a 9, you couldn't put it there. So these two can't be the same either. So if these if these two can't be the same, and these two can't be the same, but you need 2 9s at least in this triple, these two must be 9s, and this must be an 8. That's the only configuration that will work. That is absolutely lovely. And now if these add up to 26, 159 minus 26 is 133. So these two cannot have a 2 in them, otherwise we'll break the 135 total we're looking for. Those are 2 1s. And we are off and running with just the most, it's just sensational sort of panache, that is. It really is gorgeous. Now, I'm not sure whether I should get rid of the highlighting now. Look, where does 1 go in this box? Well, it can't go there, and it can't go there by Sudoku, but it can't actually go here either, because if you put a 1 here, those 3 squares need to add up to 22. And one thing I know about 22 in 3 cells, if you don't repeat a digit, is that you've got to include a 9. So this square is not a 1. The 1 must be in the 21 cage. Where does 9 go in this box? The 27 cage, the 9 must be in one of 2 places. And the 9 in box 4 must be in one of 3 places. Ah. But this is interesting actually. The nines are related because of this cage. If this is a 9, that's a 9, and that's a 9. Just by Sudoku. That final 9 is by Sudoku. Okay, so there is always a 9 in the 15 cage because the 9 is either here or here. So then there is definitely a 9 in the 15 cage. And therefore the other 2 cells add to 6, look, and the 1s, you can't put a 1 anywhere in the 15 cage. So the 15 cage is a 2, 4, 9 triple. So 9s here, here, and here is one possibility. If the 9 is here, what is that telling us? Well, then there's no 9. Then the 9 in box 7 has to go here. So there's sort of an offset arrangement. The 9s are either in these 2 squares, or they're in those 2 squares. That's the 2 possibilities for 9s in terms of column 2 and column 4. Now, sorry, if you're spotting something obvious here, you could well be. I'm just trying to understand what this means. So if that's a 9, not sure. So there's always there's always a 9 in one of those 2 squares. Now look, if we look carefully at boxes 7 and box 8 here, we know a lot about these boxes because look, maybe I should get rid of the highlighting, but we've got a 21 cage, a 23 cage, a 15 cage, and, well, 18 of a 27 cage because we've got to deduct the 9. So we know the value of everything in these 2 boxes apart from these 2 squares. So we can work out what these 2 are. So let's do that. We've got 21, 44, 59, 60, 78. So those 2 must add up to 12 to get to 90, 2 lots of 45. And if there's a 9 in, there's definitely a 9 in one of those 2 positions. So if they add up to 12, this is a 3-9 pair. That is lovely. So now that does feel like it's designed, i.e. that's something I'm meant to now use. So how do I use it? One thing I can do is I can think about this 21 cage. Because this 21 cage can't have a 9 in it, can it? Because if there's a 9 here, there's a 9 here. And if there's a 9 here, there's a 9 there. So there is never a 9 in the 21 cage. So apart from the 1 here, so I need 3 cells that add up to 20 without using a 9. There's only one way of doing that. That's with 5, 7 and 8. So that means there's a 6 in one of those 2 squares because I've not penciled a 6 into this box yet. And what else does it mean? It means that, oh, come on, Simon. It means, I don't know what it means. It means something. Bother. Must be a 6 in, there must be a 6 in one of those 3 squares. So, now hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Can that be a 9? Can that be a 9? I'm not sure it can. Because that makes that a 3 now. So I now... Yeah, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. Because once this is a 3, 8, those two squares have got to add up to 13. And one of them is a 9. Because once this is a 9, we know there's a 9 in this domino. Now, if there's a 9 in this domino, it's got and this domino adds up to 13, it's a 4-9 pair. But this is a 2-4 pair, and you can't have too many 4s in a column. You should only have 1, not 2. So this is key. This is obviously important. If this can't be a 9, that means that's a 9. It means this is a 9. This is a 3. This is a 9. And these squares therefore are 2, 4 and 6 in some order, just to complete this box. These two squares add up to 7, but they could be 2, 5 or 3, 4. No, they can't. Oh, this is interesting. Look at this cage. These add up to 12, so these add up to 12. Well, let's try 5, 7 in there then. That's one way we could get to 12. If this is 5, 7, where do we put 5 and 7 in this box? We can't put 5 and 7 into that square. This cannot have two personalities at the same time. So this is not 5 and 7. This is 4 and 8. Obviously can't be 3 and 9. There's a 9 in the box. That means there's no 8 there. The 8 must go here. These add up to 7 and now can't include a 4 or a 1. So this is 2. Oh, goodness. I mean that. This is 2, 5. That means that's a 4. So that's a 2. That's a 6 by Sudoku. This is a 2 by Sudoku. These add up to 8. So these add up to 15. Without using 6, 9. These are a 7, 8 pair. There's an 8 there. 8, 7. This is not 7. This is not 7. This 8 fixes the 8 and the 4. So those three squares there need to be 3, 6. 3, 6 and 7. There's a 3 here. This is a 3. This is a 6, 7 pair. And can I go further? I'm sure I can. These are a 2, 6 pair to complete that column. These are 1, 4 and 5. So these have got to be 3, 7 and 8. It's amazing, isn't it? There's no information at all, basically, about those 3 whole boxes, and not that much. We're going to have to look at these little killer clues, I think, next, because we're running out of things to look at in the stairway. So we need 3, 4, 5 and 6 into those. So that square can only be 5 or 6 because it sees a 3 and a 4. So that's... is this where we get to? Right. I think it might be. So what do we do now? Actually, I'm tempted to look at this 36 look. And the reason is I've already got 2 1s on this diagonal. These can't be particularly high. And look, those two cannot be... In fact, what's the maximum value of that? 6. The maximum value of this? 7. 1. The maximum value of this? Again, this can't be 8 and 9. 7. So that if we pick all of the maximum values along this diagonal, we'd have 6, 5, so we'd have 12 by the time we did those, 25, 26. Oh, it's... Ah, okay, well it's not bad. 26 plus 7 plus 5 is 38. So if I pick the absolute maximum down this diagonal for every single square, I get 38. That's 2 degrees of freedom. So this square can't be a 2 because that would make it impossible to fill the column. 6, 2. This can't be a 1 for the same reason. It could be a 4. And so this, we cannot go more than 2 below the option. So 4, 5 and 6 here. Ah, that's a shame. 5, 6 and 7 are possible here. I was wondering whether Sudoku. So 5, 6 and 7 here. Ah, all possible. That can't be a 1. Oh well. 3 is still possible. So we did quite well actually out of this. Oh, where does 1 go? In the middle box. These 1s now pinch it into there. 1 goes up here. 1 goes down there. 3. 3 in the middle box must be here. So 3 is not there. 3 is here. 3 must be in one of those 2 squares. 3 goes up here. So we're doing a bit with Sudoku now, which is good. So our options now are to, let's have a look and see if we can see anything down there. So if we pick 34 in 9 squares, so I need to keep the numbers reasonably low. So I could do 2, 1, 3 there. That would be 6. That can be a that can be a 4. Can that be a 2? So 7, 30. Oh no, this is not fruitful. Okay, the 34 doesn't look too restricted. What about the 46? That feels like it might have to have a higher number. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cells along there. So we're looking for roughly 6 average. I don't know. I'm not sure. So I think what we might do is let's have a look. We've got, what did we get? The stairway was 159. The little killer clues, let's put all those together. Is that one on that one as well? So all of the yellow cells I've just highlighted, we can see they sum up to, what's that? That's 80, 116. 116. So all of the cells in the grid that we've got highlighted now in a colour add up to 159 plus 116. What's that then? 159, 275. 275. Is that a meaningful restriction? I'm going to colour these in. Let me colour them in green. So 275. Right, so let's ask the question then. I'm going to highlight some boxes, some complete boxes. What would all of those boxes sum up to? Well, it would be 6 lots of 45, which is 270. Right, so how do we get from the 275 total to the 270 total? I've got to deduct out that square and that square because they don't appear in those boxes. So these have to go. Let's get rid of those. And I've got to add in that one, and that one. Right. Now, does this mean anything to us? So I've got to deduct out these two. So I've got to be a bit careful about this, actually, because yeah, Willy Wonka, he is a sneaky man. He is a sneaky man when it comes to Sudoku. Now look, we've got 9s and 8s pointing at both of those squares. In fact, this one also has a 7 pointing at it. So this square simply cannot be a big number. That has to be a 6 as a maximum. This one could be a 7. So the maximum value to deduct out of my 275 total is 13, which would give me 262, which means these three squares have to add up to 8 or less. Well, that's really a very huge restriction, especially as that one can only be 3, 7 or 8. So this cannot be 7 and 8 then, because obviously I can't make these two squares add up to 1. So that, I think, has to be a 3. These two there, what are the options? That one can't be a 1 either. This can be a 2 or a 4. This one can't be a 1. So this can't be a 5. So this has to be 2 or 4. This... Oh, good grief. Look, this one has to be 2 or 5. Wow, this is actually forced, therefore. This can't be 5, because I can't put 0 in this square. So this one's 2. Once this one... Oh, this is beautiful. Once this is 2, that one can't be 4, because it would break our 8 barrier. So it must be 2 also. So these 3 squares have got to add up to 7, which means that I need 275 minus these 2 squares to equal 263. So these 2 squares add up to 12. Now, I can repeat the 6. This is still difficult, because I can't use 8s and 9s. So if it's 5 and 7, 7 has to go here, the 5 would go here. If it's... and it could be 2 6s, could it? If that's a 6, that can be a 6, that can be... So we're down to 2 options for this. Now, hang on a second. This 5 and 7, oh my goodness, remember, this diagonal had 2 degrees of freedom on it. If that's a 7, it breaks. It's impossible. It's impossible because of the interaction of this. If this is a 7, this has to be a 5. Now, how do we avoid losing too much latitude? This 7 sees both of those squares. So they would be reduced to being 5 and 6. This 5 takes the 5 option from this square. So now, if I pick 6 for this square, this one loses the ability to be 5. This is not going to work, I don't think. So let's pick the highest value we can along each of these squares. So 6 plus 5 plus 1 is 12. Now the best I can do for those 2 squares, therefore, would be 6 here and a 5 here would be 11. So I'd have 23, 24, 30... 35 is not enough. 35 does not equal 36. Ever. So this doesn't work. This doesn't work. You have to not make this. This cannot be 5 and 7. This has to be 2 6s. So that's not 6. That's not 6. That's not 6. And there must be a 6 in one of those 2 squares. And now I'm guessing I've got a big problem if I pick 5 in either of those 2 squares, because 6 has gone as an option from this square. Oh, this is incredible constructing, but it's really difficult to keep track of how these all interact with themselves all the time. So let's check it. We've got 7, 8. I need 28. So if I go 5, 5, I need 18. 18 from those 3 squares by picking maximums. So yeah, so if I don't pick 7 here and I pick 5, I need 13 there, which is impossible, and it must work the same way there, obviously. So those two have to be 7s. So now we're up to 20. Let me not make a mistake here. We're up to 22. I need 14 from these squares. So this can't be a 3 anymore, because the maximum I can make those is 10. So these have to add up to 14. So we've got 2 5s and a 4 in those 3 squares. And what else? I don't know. I don't know what else we've got. 2 must be in one of those squares. Let's do that. Let's try and pick off some easy digits. 2 must be in one of these 3 squares. But I sort of feel like I'm going to have to look at maybe these two 6s are on the 46 diagonal. So maybe the 46 diagonal is now restricted. So let's look at the highest digit I can put. Oh yeah, this might be fruitful, because that can't be a 7, 8 or a 9. This one, that one can be. That can be 8 as a maximum. So 6 and 8 here. This one, that one can be a 9, I think. So these two could be a 6, 9 pair. Right, so let's do this. 14, 20, 35, 41. This is no good, is it? There's still loads and loads of yeah, there's loads and loads of possibilities here. So we're going to have to think again, I think. I don't exactly know where I'm going to think. That's a 7 by Sudoku. So these are 5, 6 and 8. So that's a 5 or an 8. That's 5, 6 or 8. Maybe it's the 34 I've got to look at now. In fact, that square is very oh, that square's hugely restricted. Look at that. That's got to be a 4 or a 5. Because it can't be a 1, 2 or 3 in the row, and it can't be a 6, 7, 8 or 9 in the column. That gives us a 4, 5 pair in this column, which means these two squares are 1 and 3, which means that's a 3 and that's a 1. That means that's a 1 by Sudoku. 9 in this box now has suddenly become powerful, because 9 must join the 6s. So these two are a 6, 9 pair. That means this square is a 3. Let's tidy up our pencil marks. So looking along here, I need 1, 2 and 5 into the open positions. So that's a 1 or a 5. I'm tempted to pencil mark this square, you know, just because it's playing a part in this diagonal. I think it can be 1, 4, 5 or 6. There's a 4, 5 pair here now. Good grief. This 4, 5 pair is nice. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's look at the 4, 5 pair. That forces that to be a 1, that to be a 5. This square must be a 3 now. This square's got to be 1, 4 or 6. You know, you can't believe it, but this diagonal, I think, is getting restricted. So we've now got 6, 9, 10 on this diagonal. I need 24 from those squares. So is it possible for this to be a 1, for example? that would mean these have to add up to 23. And I can't get there. Even with 2 8s and a 5, it's not enough. If this can't be a 1, this is a 1. This is a 1. This is a 1. This is a 5. That fixes the 5 and the 2. That fixes the 5 and the 4. Good grief. 5, 6, 8. And now look, we're starting to make a little bit of progress in this top region all of a sudden. So 6 must go in one of those squares. Maybe I should come back to this diagonal again now. I don't know. It's a bit... I've got 15 here plus 12. That's 27. I need 19 more. I need 18 more from those 3 squares. So the maximum those can be would be... that still works. That's very frustrating. Sorry, I was just thinking I can go 5, 8, and I was wondering if I could restrict this square here, but I can't. That could still be a 5, and I would get to 18. So unless I've done my maths wrong, which is very possible, that is still all working. Let's have a look along here. This square can be 4 or 8, I think. So where is it I'm meant to look? Oh, I know where it is. Oh, I'm so silly. I am so silly. I'm sure you've all been shouting at your screens. I can only apologise, but look along this diagonal. We noted that we noted those 3 squares have to add up to 14. Once this is a 4, this has to be a 5. This has to be a 5. Oh my goodness, look what this is going to do. 8, 6, 4. I'm so sorry. Oh. It's just a peril of live solving, I'm afraid, is that I often, as you know, don't spot things with the alacrity I would like to. So 2, 3, and 5 here. So this is a 2 or a 3. That's got to be a 5 by Sudoku. That's got to be a 2, I think. 3. 5's got to live in one of those 2 squares. 2 must be here, if I trust my pencil marks, and of course I do. And look at this diagonal now. So this should hopefully reveal everything to us. So we've got 9, 10, 12... 27, I need another 7, so that is a 7. This is an 8. Let's check this is working now. So I've got 18. 18 plus 15 is 33. Plus 12, 13, 46. It is working. So we are now, I think, faced with a Sudoku problem, and that is all. So we get, the 6, 9 all gets resolved. Look, that fixes the 6 and the 7. It's a beautiful, beautiful puzzle. I mean, that is what we can say with certainty. I mean, executed just beautifully. That must be a 6, trusting pencil marks. These 2 squares are 8 and 9. That looks good. Those 2 squares are 3, 4 and 8. Can we... Yeah, 3 can only go in one of those positions. 4 can only go in one of those positions. Therefore, 8 should go here. By Sudoku, we get the 8 and the 7. 9 should go here. That fixes the 8 and the 9. 7 and 9 there. That still looks good, doesn't it? And if I haven't made a mistake, 4 and 5 there. Let's check. That is how to solve as beautiful a puzzle as you will ever see. Willy Wonka, thank you very much. What a hot streak you are on. Loved it again. Let me know in the comments how you got on. Let me know how slow I was about this 455 business. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.